Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. It's episode 402. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi, I'm back.
Hey!
Hi.
Short week off.
Yes.
Although,
flu.
yes, and we missed a week as well of recording.
Did
so,
we?
yes. So it's been a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen
Oh. Time.
it. Yes. I mean, how is it the end of March already? How is it 2024?
At least the clocks are going to go forward. So.
Mate, I go...
It's something.
So I'm going to miss a week next week. No, next week? No, the week after. Because I'm off to Spain for a week. And
you have nothing to complain about. I mean,
I go on the day the clocks go back. And my flight is at 6 in the morning. So I've got to be at the airport by like 3:30. Which is actually 2:30.
Right.
So I'm like, well, what time do I go to bed? Do I bother?
You don't.
Do I just kind of
sleep on the plane?
just not worry about it and then just try and get the kids up and just push them in the taxi at the right kind of time and just get to the airport and be like, bluff. But yeah, going when the clocks change, I think it's gonna throw me so much.
Yeah. How long are you going for?
Just a week.
Oh, well, at least it's a week, because, like, say if you're going for, like, 2-3 days, and you have to, like, live through, like, 36 hours with no sleep, that would have been miserable, but
Absolutely not.
you'll be able to catch up. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you'll be sleeping
completely.
on the beach, though.
Hopefully.
Can you do that? Like, fall asleep on the beach and not look after your children?
Probably not.
That's the problem about kids.
I mean, that's
you can't just
one
fall
of,
asleep on the beach.
one of the problems
One
about
of.
kids.
I mean, the biggest problem, in my opinion.
Speaking of problems in kids, should we open some beers? And I can drown all of my issues. I have had this sat in the fridge for a little while. I'm going to drink the Puttty from Verdant. It's 10%. It's a triple IPA. It's got Azaka, Galaxy, and Mosaic in it. It's got the allergens on the back, which is barley, wheat, and oats. So it does have oats in it, but that is pretty much everything. I don't know whether the label is the same as it was from previous years. It looks really similar.
From previous years.
From previous years,
but from one this year, they're just the normal putty. But I don't know. I swear it changes every year, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna remember.
I would imagine it does change. Whether they keep it similar, I don't know.
It's always like green.
Yeah.
I remember.
There's Verdant. There's the brand of Verdant, and then there's Puttty as its own kind of branded item, I suppose. You know, as we quite often talk about the, you know, like showcase beer or like event beer or something that, you know, very much gets shared on socials and pushed out by sort of breweries almost yearly. That started off with the Cannonball Run. At least for us, I think it probably started off with the Cannonball Run. And then
Magic Rock.
And then into the sort of the Verdant, the Cloudwater V Dipper series as well, which we talk about reasonable amount. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think at some point the brewery as a brand then has a product which becomes its own kind of brand in and of itself.
Yeah, which, speaking of,
Ooh.
Did you know that today was Orval Day?
Already?
Yeah, it catches
Wasn't
me
that only in like October or something?
I don't know if it changes like every year or whatever, but someone on like the craft beer channel posted it's Orval Day. And I googled it, and turns out it is.
Literally, everyone's like, "Oh shit, really?"
Yeah. But fortunately, a bottle shop near me. I mean, Orval's not hard to come by, but bottle shop not far away. Hold on, is it always in March?
Probably.
Okay, last year was March 25th, so maybe it's like third Saturday in March. I don't know. It's Orval Day though.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I'm having.
Perfect.
Yes. I don't have the Orval goblet though. Don't know why I don't. I don't think I've ever had one.
I was going to say, have you had one and you just can't find it?
No.
Right.
No, they usually have them like sell them in sets, don't they? I think I've just probably never picked up one of the sets.
I've got one, but at my mum's house. And I don't know why it lives there. I've got no idea why I've never brought it to Bristol with me. It's just there. Not that I ever drink Orval at my mum's house, but So
I drink it from time to time.
Yeah, I haven't had one for a while.
You can never go wrong.
Usually, I have one like in a week a year ago. So someone will say, like you, it's Orval Day, and I'll go, oh yeah, and then I buy one the next time I see one and have it. Like that's normally what happens.
Yeah, we're just too late to the party. With everything.
Always. I mean, this putty is this triple. The putty is now more than it's 5 weeks old, just over 5 weeks old, just under 5 weeks old. It tells me on the bottom it's their guile, it's their sort of 793, I think, which is a lot, 793 brews. It was canned on the 19th of February, and it's got a 6 month. And then up the putt, it says on the bottom. So yeah, there we go. It's as you would expect. After the fucking block of colour, maybe a little bit more orange on camera than it actually is. It's maybe a little more sort of yellowy, I think, than it's kind of coming across. But it's a lovely nose. That's a lot of fruit in there. Nice and sweet. But just, and it wasn't massive, and you got a tiny whiff when I cracked the can, but I couldn't quite tell what it was when I cracked the can. You kind of go, there's a nice aroma coming from that. Much stronger in the glass. That's lovely and smooth. That's very full-bodied, and it's a nice mix of flavors. Like the thing I don't necessarily like about triples is how alcoholic they can feel. You can lose a lot of that alcohol in, say, like imperial stouts and things like that, where there's such a flavor that it overrides the alcohol, and you get a touch of it in this, but not much at all. Like there's a slight burn, which kind of comes in after a few seconds, but not much at all. And it's getting a lot of fruit, but it does edge towards that not soured, but really ripened kind of end of tropical stone fruit. So it's a sort of really ripe kind of mango in this, which has a little bit of kind of pithy, piney bitterness to it as well. But there's still a nice sweetness going on kind of right at the start, and that comes through a little bit. I can't quite pick up what that sweetness is. Maybe it is a bit more of the alcohol, but there's definitely a fruity sweetness to it as well, which I like. This is very, very nice.
Yeah.
Too smooth, some would say. Not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was sated enough with the putty, with 2 T's. It was like, I could have got the 3 T's putties, but it's like, I think if you just get one or the other, I think you're okay. Because they are very similar, and they do pretty much the same thing. One's just stronger than the other, but with both of them, you can't even tell the ABV usually, because it just feels like drinking fruit juice. You say you're getting a little bit of that maybe burn and sweetness, but
yes,
I don't think that's any different to like just the normal putty anyway. So it's like, I'm good.
Yeah, I would imagine, and not having had the double, I'd imagine this is maybe just a bit bigger, perhaps. Maybe similar kind of recipe. Was it this year that you got a 6-pack?
Was it a 6-pack or was it a 4-pack? It might have been a 6-pack, but it was this year.
Yeah, and was it last year? Did you drink the triple last year, or was it Adel who drank the triple last year? At least on the pod.
Impossible questions. I can't remember. I think the year. Yeah, it might have been. I don't know if I had it last year. I definitely had it. I think the year before. So I can't remember. It's impossible to know.
It is
I only
almost.
retain information from like the last 30 seconds. I don't even remember the question.
When did so this time last year, the 9th of March, in fact, Adel drank the Triple T Puttty.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to know his thoughts on last year's batch, you can go back and listen to episode 359. There you go, from the 9th of March last year. But for my thoughts, stick around to the end of the episode because I may have some more. See how it shakes out. But we'll come to you, Lucy, for I suppose a tried and tested beer.
You know what to expect, but oh yeah, really bretty. Smells it like got like a bit of dankness. Smells like farmyard. It smells like someone rolled out in the hay. And came in soaking wet, like a dog.
Wet hay, yeah.
Or maybe, yeah. So yeah, but there's still a bit of like bready maltiness in it as well. Oh yeah, Orval's good. It's 6.2%. For anyone who can't remember the ABV, understandably. Yeah, I mean it's a good beer. It's just it sort of like blurs the line between having not a harshness, but a strong bitterness, but still having like a still clean body and clean finish. And yeah, it doesn't have. I mean, in this style, you're not going to get like massive tons of fruit, so it's much more about like the malts and the bitterness at the end. But yeah, it has like a creamy texture. Guess you're getting some notes of like, I'd say like when you talked about like the bitterness on like the stone fruits and stuff like that, sort of like orange pith. Definitely more bitter rather than like the sweetness from the fruit. There's barely any sweetness in this.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just what you want. Yeah, 6.2% is like, but it still brings in all those characteristics and flavors that you'd expect from like a Trappist beer. Like I guess, as I say, like pithy bitterness and maybe a bit of like underlying grape notes, or like almost something like, I don't know, like figgy notes. I think that's probably a better way to describe it. Yeah, it's just a good beer, man. It's like it's got a decent body to it. It's probably something that you want to finish. Isn't, unless you're just drinking Orval. I'd probably end my night with Orval.
Sure.
Maybe if I didn't want something too strong or too in terms of flavour and ABV, probably end with this. But I get something that's like sating you that you don't need multiples of this. It's just filling in the best way that a beer can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. This is it was bottled on 7/11/2023. It's good till 2028. Just stalwart in the This is what you normally drink, like on a day-to-day basis, and it's just good as hell. Yeah. Oh, we don't have it fun in this country. It's probably like what, €1 across the
more than
the
likely.
channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Yeah. It costs. I mean, it's still relatively cheap for such a great
like
quality beer.
£5 maybe.
It was only, I think it was like $3.25 or
Really?
something like that. So,
Right.
Yeah. But as I say, if you're in Europe, all the Europeans are probably laughing at us like, oh, you Sorry, Brits.
It would be interesting to see what beers I experience when I go to Spain. I think the last time I went to Spain was years ago when I went to Barcelona and had a few good beers, but it wasn't, I was of an age where I wasn't looking for craft beer. I wasn't going out, and whether any of them actually were around at that point. I say that actually, the last time I went to Spain was Mallorca, I guess, where I was looking for beers. But yeah, before that it was like Barcelona, when I didn't even know, it wasn't in the craft beer kind of world. That always seems like the kind of thing let's go to Barcelona just for a weekend.
Yeah.
And just go around the breweries, just go to Garage and a few other places.
Yeah, because I was about to say, because Garage are there, and they make some of my favourite beers.
Yeah.
When are you going? Can I come?
If you want.
They have a brew dog in Barcelona.
Do you want to do some childcare?
Mate, yeah. I'll do that.
And then I can fall asleep on the beach.
I'll tell them, go pour pints behind the bar.
I'm like, Lucy's on it, it's fine, I go to sleep.
No, I should not look after even myself, let alone minors. So, yeah. Let's go garage beer.
Talking of trips, Lucy, let's start the episode on your recent jaunt.
That's exactly what it was. Because guess what? When you don't have any kids, you can go for jaunts. Just rubbing it in your face, sorry. I went to Manchester. Because I'm extremely old. When I was living in Manchester, it was definitely before, craft beer boom. I mean, we had a Labour government when I was there, so there was still hope and optimism in the air when I was in Manchester.
Oh, mate.
That's how long ago it was. When did I leave? 2011. So that was probably around the time when Brewdog were probably getting established and getting a bit more popular.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously Manchester's always been a beer city, and it's got a lot of beer heritage. But in terms of modern craft beer boom, I was living there way before. I've been back to Manchester since, living there a few times, but the last time I went prior to this week was 2019.
Okay.
Just before the pandemic, and went to Cloudwater and went to Track, but that was when Track were literally downstairs in Cloudwater before what they have now. So I mean, I love Manchester anyway, so I'm just biased. But in Birmingham, a lot of the breweries and a lot of the bars and stuff like that are concentrated to sort of the southwest of the city, and then a lot of the rest is kind of barren, which is my area is barren, so I have to travel far and wide to actually seek out any decent beer. But Manchester is it's just the city centre alone. I mean, I love the city centre. It's just so densely packed with so many things there that's there. But a lot of bars, a lot of the tap rooms around Piccadilly and stuff like that. So I set a itinerary to walk around to, I think it was about 7 places. And it was easily done. It wasn't a far walk, especially with gaps in between. It's the most I was walking for was maybe 7 minutes before I got to the next place on my journey. But the first place that I went is a bar called Westward Ho, and that is Pomona Island's bar.
Right.
It's not the brewery or anything, but that's just where they have all their beers on tap. And I genuinely could have spent the whole day there because it was just Pomona Island. I know Adil really likes Pomona Island, and it's yes, they are very good. And yeah, just from source, it was just man, these beers are so good. And it was my first stop, and it's I shouldn't overdo it here, but I just want to stay. I don't want to leave. It's such a really nice looking traditional bar, and just
Yeah.
like there was like probably 10 taps, and some on cask as well. It was just like all their beers, and it was like, do I just like set up residency here and not bother go anywhere else? But it's like, no, I've got a plan. So yeah, like, I mean, just there alone, you could spend like a whole afternoon, whole evening there.
Why is their bar called Westwood Ho? Because I've been to actual Westwood Ho, which is like a town in Devon.
Oh right, okay. I don't know.
No, what a weird fucking name.
Couldn't tell you. Like, shout outs to the people on like the craft beer channel, like Discord, because I consulted. There's like a list of just like maps,
right,
of like different cities and like the bars there, and I wouldn't have known about it like had I not looked at that. But it was just like, oh, I don't know if Pomona Island are gonna like. I can't remember when I was researching if they're gonna open like a tap room or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, just there alone was just like, yeah, I could just roost here.
Nice.
For like weeks and just sample everything, because yeah, their beers are so good.
So is there
straight from tap?
Is their tap room part of the brewery? Is it a tap room attached to the brewery rather than it being a brewery and them having a bar in Manchester? Because they're a Manchester-based brewery, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think they're off-site, their actual brewery. Yeah, because they're
like Left-Handed Giant
industrial
is
site.
Here. Yeah. Like Left-Handed Giant here has their brewery in an industrial site, and then they've got the bar where they do some brewing within the bar itself.
Yeah, which is something that you do see for a few breweries that have multiple sites. So their main site is on an industrial park in Salford. And I don't think it's got a tap room. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, I think I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you can afford like the rent or something in like the city centre, you're definitely gonna get more footfall there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And if it's just like, okay, we're rolling our own barrels to the city centre, that's fine. Because Salford's not far, obviously, so northwest Manchester. So, but yeah, that was really good. The other breweries that I visited, Cloudwater, are really good. And it's kind of strange because I don't tend to pick up like Cloudwater beers anymore, and I know we both had the 9th birthday beer and we were both a bit underwhelmed by it. But going there and having their beers there, I'm just like, this is just so much better than anything they've put in can for like the last 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah, and I was just selecting anything that I wanted off the board. Like I had a brown ale. I didn't have the barley wine because I was like, this is too excessive. Casinos, I've got like another 4 stops. But what else did I have there? I was texting you guys about it because I was just enamored with what they had there.
Well, I did recently see an interview with I can never remember his name, but the fellow who runs Cloudwater. An interview with someone who, for a channel which I didn't know, but they had Matthew Curtis kind of guest chatting on there as well. And they've been going for like 9-10 years now as well. And they were very much sort of saying, the stuff that we're brewing at the moment, yes, we're kind of known for our dippers and all of these kinds of things, but actually we're brewing a lot more traditional English style kind of beers at the moment. And we're obviously showcasing them a lot more kind of in the bar and stuff like that. And it was a really good chat with him about Cloudwater as a whole. But interesting that them sort of suggesting we're not a market driven kind of brewery. We're not brewing what is popular at the moment. We brew what we want to brew. The styles and the flavors that excite us are the things that we want to brew and we want to kind of work on.
Yeah, that's good to hear. They had a L'Oreal and Mosaic Foudre beer. They had that I tried. They had lots of stuff. I'll just They had a nitro porter that I tasted. Like, here are some of the styles: like a bright pale, alcohol-free pale, hazy pale, a pilsner, tiny IPA, export lager, barley wine, imperial stout. And the board kept changing as I was
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
they had quite a few decent selection. So yeah, I was really impressed with that. And it's like, this is the Cloudwater I remember. Just putting out bangers. It's like,
Yeah.
put it in your cans, please. Well, otherwise, I'm gonna have to move to Manchester. But yeah, track was, as you'd expect, very good.
Mhm.
I had probably one of the nicest pizzas I've.
Nice.
It was a honey and pesto pizza. And I was like, well, that's an interesting combination. It was lovely.
What kind of pesto?
Very impressed. I think
Basil.
it's probably just like basil, standard basil pesto, yeah.
Oh,
But it was nice.
nice.
But yeah, what you'd expect. They had a really big selection. But yeah, like their typical styles, like whereas Cloudwater had like a broad range, like Track was very much more the IPA and double IPA kind of styles, like which is fine. It's like they do those extremely well. Took a picture of their board as well. But yeah, it was just mostly just different.
Mate,
pale.
You've got to imagine that
pale.
in all of these breweries, in tap rooms and bars and breweries across the country, their drinks board must be the most photographed part of their entire premises. You know.
Yeah. They had a few colours, and their flagship beers like Sonoma on cask and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, but yeah, very, very, IPA and double IPA heavy there. Went to Sure Shot, which hadn't really been on my radar that much. I actually picked up a few cans from the bottle shop, so
yeah,
I'll probably get a better sample of them. I didn't have too much from there. But, nice little tap room, what you'd expect. It's not quite as big and grandiose as like Track or Cloudwater or even the Panoma Island ones, but nice little place. And it's right next to Balance Brew, who do mixed firm beers.
Okay.
So I was in my element.
Nice.
And they had a crossover. What do you call it? Crossover is the name of the blendery that they did I guess it is a crossover beer, because I was like, I saw it on the board, it's like crossover. And I was like, is that with the guys who are down in like Suffolk? Or is that just you saying you're doing a crossover with another brewery?
You're not like crossover blendery. It
was crossover blendery.
Right. It's a crossover with crossover.
Yes. And when you're several beers in at this point, you're like, you can barely read the board, let alone make sense of it. So yeah, they had a collaboration beer with Crossover, and it was like, ooh, one of my loves. So yeah, I think if I go again, I'd definitely want to spend more time there, just because I love that experimentation. I think it's fascinating, and like one of their beers, I had it, and it was like, oh, this is like on the edge. Like I can taste the diacetyl here, and it's like, but it's like that's part of the joy. It's like if you probably gave that to somebody who just doesn't drink beer at all, they'd probably never drink beer again, because they'd be like, why does this taste like perfume?
Yeah.
But it's just like it's part of the experimentation. It's part of, you don't know what's going to happen after like 3 years of blending.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, this isn't. As I said, it was on the edge. I could drink it. Probably, they might probably not serve that again, or like, it probably definitely wouldn't get to bottle. But it's like getting to try it and just getting to see that process, and it's like things go wrong, and it's just like that organic nature of like just any beer making, but mixed ferm beers especially. It's like, yeah, it was nice.
Nice.
So,
I had I don't know if there's a mixed fermentation beer, but Wiper and True have just put out what they call an orchard ale. I drank a beer last night from them. They put it in a bottle, and they happened to have them around the corner when I went round to go and pick up some beers yesterday. And they had this orchard ale in there, and Ranjit, who runs the shop, was like, "Oh, try this. I don't know how well these are going to sell. It's a bottle rather than a can, so and he knows that I'm going in there to look for new beer." And it was very, very nice, and it was almost a mix of a cider and kind of a white wine, much more cidery than say like white wine, but it is a beer that was fermented and put into kind of white wine barrels for 2-3 years kind of thing. And I thought, oh, Kim loves cider. She she drinks white wine all the time. I'm like, try this. This is like you'll get cider at the start. You'll get that like kind of slightly fizzy, really appley sweet kind of thing, and then it will just mellow out and just hit into it will go into a sourness and then just drop into this kind of like kind of a bit of tannins and a tart kind of grapey sort of white wine sort of flavour. And she tasted it and was just like, no, can't do it. And I'm like, no. And I
it
really
just doesn't
liked
translate.
it. Sort of,
It doesn't like. You can taste like the most cidery beer and give someone who doesn't typically drink beer or like beer that particular thing, and it's like they're just not having it.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
probably because we're just inured to the bitterness that beer
Potentially.
and it's not noticeable to us, but it is if your palate isn't used to it. So, but I don't think I knew much, or if anything, about balance. Mixed firm prior to this trip, but it's like they're on my radar now because you wouldn't expect it like somewhere like in the middle of the city centre. You usually expect them to be like out in the middle of the country when they're just like underneath an
on a
apple
farm.
tree or something
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
that. Yeah. So to have one in like the city centre, right next to Sure Shot as well, is great. Definitely would spend more time there.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
But yeah, just a great beer city. Great. Obviously, it has a lot of beer heritage, but like the craft beer scene now is also very good. So,
did you get out to someone like Marble? Because I think when I think of Manchester, kind of Marble is sort of almost one of the first ones that kind of come to mind. And I imagine that they are an older brewery. Kind of Marble have been around, and some of these breweries that we're talking about, come up in the last few years, are sort of a similar age to us, to the podcast. Whereas someone like Marble must be around sort of 20 odd years, kind of thing.
25, it looks like.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I did research and I was like, can I go? That was literally the first brewery that I researched. What was the reason? And the other one was like Seven
Is it like a bit
Brothers
further out or something like that? Like it's not on the kind of the route that you were taking, sort of thing.
No, I think it might only be events and tours only.
Oh.
From what I can gauge, the tap room.
Right.
Because I did Google a few like Seven Brothers.
Do they not have like a bar, Marble?
Yeah. If I could say anything, one unfortunate thing about some of these breweries, especially when they're very Instagram forward and like that's their main marketing tool, they don't really keep up with their actual website, and it's like it can be frustrating. It's like, are you open? Can I come see? Can I visit? And it's like there's just no information on their thingy. So this would probably just be dead air me trying to research it, but I know I definitely, because they were my first thought, and I can't remember if it was like they were somewhere. Oh, okay.
Because I only asked because because I'm planning a November trip to Manchester.
Well, I'll be coming
for my yes. Well, you're more than welcome to join us. We'd just be Kim and I, just I know exactly, just bumbling around Manchester, just fucking hitting bars and stuff.
I'll be there.
We walk into somewhere, and Kim's like, "Is that Lucy over there?" I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. Why would she? Why would Lucy be here?" Like, "Oh my god, hooray! Is that Adel over there?" No, why would he be here? What a strange thing.
It's like we've already bought your pint.
Yeah.
It's just like I had no idea.
Why are you sat here with like 5 pints? What's going on?
Yeah. So I'll be there. It'll be cold as hell.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll research that. Because it says that they've got a Marble Arch, which is a Grade 2 listed pub. So I'm gonna have to. I mean, any excuse to go back to Manchester.
And it's
I'll just go, oh no, Marble, what a shame.
I think that's again for me. It's places like Marble Arch, the Marble Arch kind of pub, where I'm like, I can get a bit of architecture in here as well. Let's go and look at a Grade 2 list. Yeah, I can walk around of historic Manchester, looking at all the lovely buildings, whilst drinking the lovely beer.
Yeah, the architecture in Manchester's insane.
I mean, Manchester's a funny place because I've only ever experienced Old Trafford. You know, I've never been out in Manchester. I've only been to Manchester, 10, 12 kind of times, coming up, watching the football, and leaving, basically.
Yeah, and well, that's not state-of-the-art architecture anymore.
No, not at all.
I was thinking, should I visit it just in case it's like the last? Well, I doubt
knocked down next
to
year.
The ground. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I was like, no, I can't be bothered. Yeah. Oh, remember when we used to be good? Remember when I was living in Manchester and the team were actually winning things? That's how you know it was a time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was optimism in the air.
Yeah.
Say Labour government.
Yeah.
Even though
everyone was hopeful.
They had run their course. So maybe we weren't as hopeful back then anyway. Maybe I'm just looking at it with rose-tinted glasses because things were not great then anyway. Especially after the crash.
Well,
that's just never been good.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue there.
Yeah. And the war.
Yes. Yeah. They put all of their eggs into 2 very ridiculous baskets almost. Yeah. Shot themselves in the foot. Absolutely. So, I mean, of the places that you did go in Manchester, was there anywhere that you're kind of, the next trip that you may plan to go to Manchester? Is there anywhere that you're kind of itching to go back to? Either because you didn't get to experience enough time there, or the beer was just, so good that you, as you said, with where was the first place you went? Pomona Island. That you could just stay there all day, kind of thing.
Yeah. I also went to Bundobust, who I think they're from Leeds, is it? They have 2 sites in Manchester.
Right.
Had a lager. It was like, and went to Northern Monk Refectory. Just a bar that they had their beers. Didn't spend too long there, and my last trip was just like another bar that just did craft beers. It wasn't like specialty.
Okay.
Like to a brewery like the Pomona Island one. But yeah, absolutely the Westwood Ho. That does the Pomona Island beers, because in their flagship bar, they're obviously going to have a large variety, but down here, you see you only get them every now and then. So that was a rare treat. Well, not a rare treat, but a slightly more rare treat. So I'd definitely go there. Cloudwater, because damn, their beers are good when you've been doing it that long and it's straight from source.
Yeah. Really
good. And the pace that they were changing over the beers, it seems like they always had something else on rotation, which is great. There, and Balance, just because I like me mixed fermentation beers, because I'm a hipster, so yeah. Those amazing, 3 definitely stood out.
Nice. Just a quick look at Bundobust, because I always thought Bundobust was just
I thought it was
and
just
just
food.
food, just an Indian
Yeah,
sort of food kind of
yeah.
place. But there are a brewery
Hmm.
as well. I didn't realize. But yeah,
Yeah.
they've got places in so their actual
Leeds.
brewery is in Manchester.
Oh, is it?
And then they've got bars in Leeds, Birmingham, Liverpool, and
Oh, right.
Manchester.
So the two sites that I went to, I think the one that I went to wasn't their brewery. I think it was just their like bar and food place. Because
Sure.
they do have two. I was meant to go round and go to the other one, which would have been their brewery, but I think it was closed by the time I got
Right,
there.
right. The brewery looks
Um,
great. Lovely industrial unit, lovely
yeah,
glass,
yeah,
central kind of light wells all the way through, roof lights. So, yeah.
yeah. The one I went to, it was like you have to go downstairs, so it was like not tucked away, but it felt like a little bit quaint and
Hmm.
um, you know, exclusive, I should say. But
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, I went there mainly because I needed food at that point because I hadn't eaten.
I mean, if kind of it's this kind of idea that actually, if I'm wandering around and I'm going to all of these beery places, why not go to a beery food place as well? And
Yeah,
obviously, just
yeah,
gorge yourself on lovely Indian
mhm,
kind of cuisine.
yeah. But the pizza at the track was. I'd just go
Mm.
there again just for the pizza. So that was the highlight.
Nice, nice.
But yeah, I think they're similar to like the Indian brewery in Birmingham, where it is very much they make their own beer. They make them on site there,
Mm.
but it is very much like it's like you only associate it with like food, Indian
Sure.
street food. But they're actually opening a bigger site where it's like actually gonna brew there,
Right.
on site there.
Mm.
So that's exciting. I because I've been to the Indian brewery like maybe 2-3 times. I went whenever I've been there, like because I tasted their beer in like bottle like in the early days, and I didn't like it too much.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to see if if it's more up my alley or if their recipes have developed or whatever. To see if I like it and see. I mean, I imagine they'll be brewing new stuff at the new site because it's much bigger. So
Sure.
be interesting to see if I get on with it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
it's always nice to see that like there's more breweries in Birmingham, especially in the city centre because as far as I know, there's only really Burning Soul in the city centre. So
Well, I don't know about so much about sort of Manchester, but it's interesting how both kind of Bristol, and Birmingham are similar in a way that you kind of have the city centre. It's not necessarily sterile, but it's very commercial in its output.
yes,
There's an area where it's very much this is the shopping bit. And okay, there's some restaurants and a few things that kind of accommodate around that for people to be able to go to. Then you have to go a bit further afield for a bit more shopping, and then kind of at the Birmingham's the same. You kind of got your city centre, and then you go down to the jewellery quarter and kind of wander around the canals, and there's even more shops and all that sort of shit. And then not that far out, like a 10-minute walk from the city centre in Bristol, you can walk kind of southeast, and you're into industrial estates where we have a bunch of different breweries. And the same in Manchester. You can, in Birmingham, as we have experienced, you can kind of go down to Digbeth and a few of these kind of other places, which are like right on the edge of the city centre.
Digbeth has been hollowed out now, though. But
Has
yes,
it?
It did used to be the case. But yeah, it's like it's really sad what happened to Digbeth. Like
HS2 just
pandemic,
like cut it completely up as well.
That and a lot of roadworks
Right.
and it's just inaccessible for like not just cars. It's like there's roadworks everywhere, and
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
like a lot of places have shut down, and you see places trying to open up, but it's like it was at one point it was like very much. I don't know if you could say thriving, but a lot of new businesses were opening there, and it just seems like they didn't continue with that investment. And yes, HS2 is just a massive problem everywhere. Just
I
digging
suppose
up everything for no reason.
I suppose the problem with Digbeth is you come out of the train station and you can go like to the city centre, and then Digbeth's the opposite way almost. So everyone kind of goes almost one way.
Yeah.
and doesn't want
More
to go the other
straight,
way.
yeah.
And I haven't been to
And
Manchester
it's
sort of
sad.
city centre, but kind of how is it in terms of that kind of like getting around? Sort of, is everything kind of in the city centre? I know you sort of say you kind of bop between 7 sort of 8 different places. Was it a big distance to kind of travel, or was it kind of like I've started in the city centre and I've ended in the city centre?
Yeah, exactly. Because I started up in like Deansgate, and it's not a far walk to Piccadilly, especially when we stops in between. It's what I like to think about Manchester, because Birmingham's the second city just because it's big, but it's
Yeah.
like the city centre in Birmingham. It's big, but it doesn't feel as big as Manchester. But I think
Right.
because Manchester, it's like everything's more condensed into like, a much smaller, not even a smaller space, because it's still huge. But it's like it feels everything's more condensed. Whereas, yes, in Birmingham you have like, the Jewellery Quarter here and like Digbeth over there, which is still the city centre, but it's like they feel very disparate. And some places in Manchester do too, like Printworks and Deansgate Locks and stuff like that, and Piccadilly.
Right.
But it's easy to get around. Everything it just has a different, I don't know, different vibe. Everything feels like very in short distance to everything else,
Yeah.
And it feels like it's. I mean, you are the architect, so I could be talking out my arse, but it feels like everything's better designed for like pedestrians, and just like easier to get. And it's not like the tram, and it's still very good for like, public transport. Like there's a lot of buses. Like in Birmingham, it's like try and get a bus after like 10 o'clock. You're stuck now.
Yeah. But I mean,
You're walking.
not to talk too much about that, but on my kind of trips to Birmingham has always been a weird kind of place where the council have always wanted to be almost like groundbreaking in terms of what they're trying to do in sort of social architecture, the public places that they're creating, the plazas, the areas that they open up. The amount of money they spent on the library is absolutely fucking insane. Like,
but it doesn't even have any books in there.
But that was the thing. Like the council wanted to be like the first to have like this grand public library, outside of London, kind of thing, which was a new building and this sort of stuff. And this is why they're bankrupt. Absolutely. They ultimately Birmingham was kind of the place that like we'll take a chance on this. Fuck, didn't work. But we just spent like 200 million, and that's our entire budget. Sorry, we can't collect your bins anymore. So it's a bit of an odd sort of place.
Yeah, and like if anything goes to the show, it's like we have a tram and it broke down like 7 times. And they had to dig up the roads about twice because the pinball beer place in the middle of the city centre, they were literally had your complaints. They were like, no one collects their bins, and like there's roadblocks outside of our bar every day because they're digging up the tram once again, and the tram literally goes nowhere. It's like, why is it even here?
Yeah.
Digging up roads for no reason. It's
joy.
That's probably why the breweries are all concentrated down to like the south of Birmingham, in the more affluent areas as well. Funny that. Yeah.
Whereas it's interesting because in Bristol, the breweries themselves are maybe not the cheaper kind of areas to exist as premises, but they're surrounded. Most of the breweries are on industrial estates, surrounded by not affluent areas at all.
No.
Most of them in Bristol are right on the edge of like inner city sort of, yes, kind of classed as inner city, but not like somewhere like Redland or Bishopston or those kinds of areas, which are still sort of inner city, but are the much more affluent, much more historic kind of areas. Whereas all of the breweries are down kind of St Philip's and into sort of Lawrence Hill and those kinds of places, which has a huge amount of kind of big 14, 15 story kind of flat blocks, and
Right.
is taken up a lot by more kind of maybe now like second, third generation kind of immigrant families that have come over kind of tens of years ago kind of now and established themselves sort of here, but very much in those areas where as kind of even out as far as I am, where you have a lot of not necessarily miners terraced housing. Mine's a little bit bigger than that kind of thing, but lots of that kind of 2 up 2 down kind of terrace sort of stuff that surrounds these kinds of breweries, and they're not destinations. They're not kind of the place to go, which is why most of the breweries have another bar in the city centre, and everything is brewed kind of here, and then they have either a pub or a bar or a tap room or a microbrewery kind of within the city centre as well for a lot of them. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic that a lot of breweries here have 2 premises, whereas in Birmingham, it didn't sort of, as we've been to, like Burning Soul was like, it's here. It's quite centrally located, but it's here. Great. There ain't nothing else here. There's maybe another couple of bars around to go to, but if you want to go to the breweries, it is out in the industrial areas, which is a 20-minute kind of ride outside.
It's more spiritually, really. That's where everything is. But it's really strange. It's concentrated into that little pocket. Because even like some affluent areas in Birmingham, it's kind of. I'm just going to be like paint everyone with the same brush. I'm going to tar everyone with the same brush. There are some people who have like money and refuse to, actually invest it in the community. Like there are places like Sutton and Harborne, and probably no one who listens to this podcast lives in Birmingham. Probably not in those areas either, so I can call them out. And it's like the high streets have just died there because it's like it clearly trickle down economics doesn't work. These people are living in houses that are like probably cost $1 million, and the high streets are dying. There's nothing there, and it's just barren. It's like that's what you get when you don't have a community such as like Sturchley, as hipster as it is. You don't invest in it, and it's just like you let all these old curmudgeons stay in their ivory towers and never come out and just be like, yeah, well, I'm not spending any money.
Yeah.
And expect trickle down economics to work. Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, place makes a massive difference for beer. Place, I'll quotation mark the idea of place. But and every city will be completely different in how people have to approach that kind of, the market. Everything is its own kind of microcosm, and Bristol is, 4 times smaller than Birmingham is. Or Birmingham's 4 times bigger than kind of Bristol is, if not more. I think Bristol's like 500,000 people, like as a like even like Greater Bristol, whereas Birmingham's like 2-3 million kind of people as like
I
Greater
remember when
Birmingham.
we crossed 1 million, but that was probably like it's probably grown like an extra 2 in the last 5 years. So it's. I don't know, Birmingham's weird. I love it, but then it's such a weird place at the same time. The one good thing about Birmingham is, it's very multicultural. You go to some cities and it's like they've never seen a black person before, and it's like, did you not like even watch, I don't know, Trevor McDonald on the news or anything? Like, why is this so exciting? But it's just like everyone in Birmingham. It's like, yeah. We're used to all different cultures and Bristol's the same, A lot of major cities are the same, so that's the one benefit.
I would. So what is interesting is if you Google populations, we'll move on to actual things. We want to talk about games very shortly.
This is going to be the coffee episode.
Very.
We're a beer podcast.
Beery. Bristol, supposedly, and I didn't know this, has a population, and it'd be interesting to see where this is taken from, has a population of about 714,000 people. That's much bigger than I thought it was. So I don't know where they're taking Bristol as an area.
When was the last census?
I don't know. 2011.
Right.
It's every 15 years.
Yeah.
So it should be one in a couple of years, maybe. Is it every 15 years or every 10 years?
The census?
Yeah. It's usually every 10 years. We didn't do one in 2021, surely. Did we? Maybe we did. I don't know.
That's
but
like, it's every 10 years. That's like 7 billion babies born in that time. I mean, you've pushed out 2 in the last 10 years.
So, Bristol City Council suggest that the population of Bristol in 2022 was 479,000. So I don't know where Google is pulling this fucking data from.
People having babies. Too many.
So let's say Bristol's 500,000. Birmingham.
7 billion people.
Well, interestingly, the same Google says that the Birmingham metropolitan area is only 871,000. So it's not that much bigger than Bristol in terms of what they're kind of looking at. But projections, Birmingham City Council suggests it's 1.2 million people, roughly.
Okay.
So, if we're looking at council data, Birmingham is more than twice as large as Bristol. Whereas Manchester, and not only looking at this, but in terms of like how many breweries there are, how many bars there are, what they service, those kinds of things. The greater or the UK metro area population of Manchester. This suggests that it's 2.8 million, whereas if I try and find Manchester's population, Manchester City Council.
I'm just thinking of like Greater Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely. They take like exactly take Wigan in. Yeah, exactly. And then Birmingham takes in Wolverhampton in and all those kinds of things. Manchester, in the last date that it was taken was 2021, had 586,000 people. So whereas like it's not that much bigger than Bristol. So it's more equivalent, I suppose, in terms of its kind of the amount of people it supports and the not necessarily affluency, but the kind of, I suppose, people who have that leisure time and income to be able to go and be in bars and breweries and these kinds of places. Whereas Birmingham has always felt that bit bigger, but more disparate. Like it feels bigger and more like spread, I suppose, rather than kind of Bristol where you're like, well, I can walk between like 6 breweries within 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're spreading out. We're coming for you. All this.
As Birmingham just grows and grows and grows and grows. Yeah. Suddenly, like Gloucester is the Midlands. Like what? How have they got down this far? What's going on?
We're coming for you, Daya. Yeah, it's interesting. I want to live in a. You see, this will be my manifesto when I run for power. I want 20 breweries per person.
How many people work in these breweries?
Well, that'll be the only trade that we have.
Yeah.
Breweries.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, forget your finance. Yeah. Your education.
Should we touch?
Educate children in bars.
Should we touch on games slightly? Just to round the episode out on.
Guess we can.
We can.
Yes. Have you played anything?
I have, but we got a chat in the Twitch saying talk about RuneScape. I haven't played RuneScape for fucking 400 years.
At least you can talk about it. I've only seen press releases about RuneScape, and I have no idea what the actual game is. I see RuneScape, and I press delete because I know it's not for me. But,
well, I was going to say, I feel like I'm back in 2020 because obviously I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, obviously, and that's taken up most of my time. But I've also dipped back into Crusader Kings 3. So it's it's just like pure 2020 for me, essentially. Yeah. And it's like 2 of my favourite games of 2020. I'm like, let's just play those games again and not Like, let's just pretend there's a pandemic outside. Let's just hope that people aren't going to phone me anymore about work. And I can just lose myself in these games. I'm not going to talk about them here. I've talked about them at length.
I thought this was leading to
No, absolutely not.
Why don't
absolutely
we
not.
talk about RuneScape then?
Well, I can talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Lucy, but I imagine you'd instantly just disconnect from the call.
Talk about RuneScape.
What have you been playing this week?
This dude with the afro hasn't played RuneScape before now. I'm sorry, sir.
I think I've got times watching a completely different podcast than what we're actually... Or watching a completely different stream to what we're actually
never talked about RuneScape?
I don't know. I can't imagine so. RuneScape is a long-forgotten relic of the past. But, yeah, no. I can't imagine we haven't talked about RuneScape. Yes.
I'm sorry, I've got time.
You've derailed us completely.
No one's... Yeah.
Is this Adel in disguise?
No, madam. I don't know. We've never...
You just come in to derail the episode. I'm not here, but I'm derailing anyway.
I'm so sorry.
Lucy, what have you been playing? Anything new? Anything just the same
not
shit
RuneScape.
No.
I played a game called Geometry Survivor, which I mean those names like evokes Geometry Wars and Vampire Survivor.
Absolutely.
And it's quite. I was playing it. It's a twin stick shooter, and I was like, why would I at first describe this as a Vampire Survivors, like, when it's like Vampire Survivors didn't invent that genre, and it's like this is just very much a twin stick shooter, and Vampire Survivors is very much a inspiration of that genre. But yeah, it's a classic arcade game. It looks more like Geometry Wars, a very 2D kind of like twin stick shooter, playing as a little ship, and you're avoiding rather than doing anything else, and it's a bit more passive, a bit more idle. But yeah, it's like one of these where it's like in the same vein as Vampire Survivors. You're unlocking new perks and new weaponry, and it's like I've only really touched on it, so I can't speak too much to it, but that's really the only thing that I've played.
It looks very Tron. Maybe? Looks very Tron-like in its kind of aesthetic.
Yes.
I mean, like
neon.
Initial, like early original film kind of Tron. Those reds and blues, the geometric grids, kind of that sort of neon sort of aesthetic to it, and it kind of. At least looking at kind of a couple of videos, it does evoke Vampire Survivors slightly, but not a huge amount. Whereas there's tons of games that have come out recently which are, not necessarily clones of Vampire Survivors, but they pull on the same kind of strings to sort of I guess but pull on the back of Vampire Survivors. Kind of like, this is the new hot thing that's similar to the thing that you love. Whereas this kind of looks a little bit, different enough maybe that it kind of sits in the same sort of genre, but would give you something slightly different maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it very much looks like Geometry Wars in that vein, but I think like the passive nature of it, where you're not. Is it? I guess is it even twin stick? I guess it's not, because you're not really shooting. But It's like that's what I attribute to these games. Like, I'm usually shooting in these games, but it's more like I'm avoiding things, avoid them up or something like that. So, and the thing is to last 20 minutes. It's a roguelike. You unlock new perks and new weaponry and new buffs like as you go on. Yeah, I've only really scratched the surface of it, but it's like a nice little addendum to Vampire Survivors, because I've played that game to so much, and it's like unlocking new things and stuff like that. I'm not doing it at a rate that I am doing it with Geometry
Right.
Survivors because I've played Vampire Survivors so much.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, it's a nice little thing to distract myself with. But
Would
I
it?
haven't got too far into it.
Do you think it's something that would? Because I go back to Vampire Survivors every now and again just to do a couple of runs and stuff. Do you think this is something that would replace that?
I mean, can't replace Vampire Survivors. Just because they're so big in the rate that they can drop content and new content is they're afforded that because of the success. So this isn't going to be able to do that. So it wouldn't replace that.
Yeah.
But as I say, I'm getting that the same bits of dopamine that I used to get playing Vampire Survivors, just unlocking new things. So yeah, for it probably won't have as long a tail as Vampire Survivors, but for the short term and what I'm enjoying now, it's hitting on all those bells and whistles.
Nice.
Because I needed my methadone to get off Balatro. So Geometry Survivors is what I've been playing. Because yeah, I mean, instead of RuneScape, we could talk about Balatro, but I won't do that. I'll wait till the deal's back and see how deep down the rabbit hole he is.
Yes, I do keep seeing, as I'm sat here at my PC working away, and Steam is just in the background, it occasionally pops up telling me everyone who is currently playing Balatro. And Adel is, he pops up. It says he's playing. I don't know how long he plays for. Kind of look at that, but yeah, I think he's been playing a little bit. So maybe when he's on next week, we'll jump back into Balatro and see kind of what everyone's experienced within that. I mean, you gave us a pretty good rundown, in episode 400 of kind of your time with it. But I imagine
there'll be some new DLC drops or something. But
right.
yeah, I've managed to wean myself off for now, so I'm good. I'm clean.
Nice.
I think I'm a week clean. So yeah, when they have a new drop, then because I think it's all mad numbers, like 1 million copies in like 5 days. Yeah. So when they inevitably drop something, I'll be back. I'll be back strapping up my arm.
So you kind of playing like weekly?
I'm not playing anything.
No, like Balatro. Are you kind of jumping on it kind of like maybe weekly, every other day? Is it
I'm
something that's
avoiding
pulling you
it.
in? Okay.
I had a hot and heavy couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I was playing here and there. And now I'd very much like to have a healthier relationship with Balatro. But when you start playing it, it's like, well, 4 hours is gone. So I'm gonna. I think that I feel sated. I feel like I've had my fill with Balatro for the time being. If something else drops, then cool. Like I could very much go the rest of the year without playing Balatro. I've had a great time with it.
Yeah.
But if new content does come in, I am absolutely jumping in there. But for now, I'm cool.
Yeah, fair.
I'm clean. I don't need to chase that dragon anymore. I'm fine.
That's okay. Good.
Yeah.
It's nice when you finally realise, kind of like, oh, I can wean myself off.
I have a problem.
Yeah. Everyone's playing this game and I love it, but Jesus Christ, it's just taking over everything.
Yeah. It's one of those where it's like, you think once you're in the spiral, can you get out? And it's like, with Balatro, it was like, yes, because I had, had a great time and I've unlocked a lot of the cards and the jokers and stuff like that. So it's like, I would just be. I mean, there are like different decks that you can play with, but I've done some of that. But it's like, I'm good for now. It's there where I can, if I ever feel the need, I can go back to it and have a great time with it and try out new things. But honestly, playing it for like probably over 40 hours within a few weeks, I'm good. But yeah.
That's fair.
I'll just go back to my other addiction and play Call of Duty.
How is Call of Duty these days? What were you like 5, 6 months since release now?
Yeah, I think I don't understand what the seasons are, so I'm not even going to explain that. But a new map came out, which is pretty good. Like I like the smaller scale maps, and this is a smaller scale map, very very condensed. That's the kind of stuff I like. They obviously have all these other things on rotation with whatever Warzone is, with zombies, with some horde mode.
Right.
I don't pay those any mind. I just go to what I know, which is they have a playlist called Small Map Mosh Pit. Just all the small maps in rotation, and that's what I like. That's my go-to. That's my
Yeah.
go-to.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't want to entertain any of the other stuff they have
So
because I don't understand it. I don't know how to navigate the menus. I just don't. I'm old.
I know we talked about like previously Modern Warfare. Was it Modern Warfare 3? Isn't it?
Yes.
Modern Warfare 3 brought in a bunch of maps from the original Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare, and potentially from the original Modern Warfare 3 as well. But brought back a bunch of multiplayer maps which were familiar, like Rust and those kinds of things, which, again, smaller maps and stuff. So is this new one a new map, or is it like a reinvention of one that is from a previous kind of game?
I don't remember. I mean, it may well be. Let me do a quick Google. But I don't remember it being in previous ones.
It's
That's
just
House
that
Call of Duty.
it's interesting that they're bringing in lots of new, or they're bringing new releases, new maps and stuff still.
Yeah, I mean they gotta feed the beast, don't they? That's all. That's all it is to video games now. You just gotta churn out the content.
Yeah.
It first appeared in Call of Duty Vanguard, apparently.
Right. Okay. So it is an older map?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can call it old. When was Vanguard? Like 2 years ago?
No, 10 years ago.
Vanguard? That was the other year.
That was the other day, mate. Vanguard.
Yeah. Wasn't that like
Vanguard was
2020 or something?
20. I don't know. It doesn't tell me. Oh wow, 2021.
Yeah, that was recent. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's why I've never recognised it. But yeah, it's a cool map.
It shows you how many Call of Duty games I played.
Yeah. But if anything is to say for Call of Duty, they've always known how to make very good multiplayer maps.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Their level designers are obviously some of the best, so yeah, that's one thing they can do. They need to sack their UI team and actually get some people in where it's like little old ladies who need glasses like me and just like, what am I looking at? It's just a whole load of text, and I don't know, but I'm not buying any skins like the cell shaded one that you can see from across the map or whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to be Groot 400 miles
or the
away.
Groot skin, yeah.
Just a ghillie suit, mate. Just want a ghillie suit. Just hide in the fucking bush.
Yeah, I'm not buying any of that.
No, that's fair.
It's immaterial.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the Call of Duty check-in.
Good. That probably rounds us out for this week.
Mm.
No quiz this week because Adam's not here.
No.
So we'll probably just finish up on our beers and end here somewhere within the next 5 to 10 minutes. We will touch on our beers. The Puttty tea has flown back really for a 10% beer. It's super smooth. It mellowed very nicely and very quickly, actually. So, within about sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it had mellowed, and I wasn't quite getting that slight alcohol sweetness that I was experiencing straight away. And again, the kind of the piney bitterness mellowed as well. So it came very much more into that central kind of fruity flavour that is the big flavour through this. If you have a whole can, that is what will be the lasting kind of flavour. And it is maybe a little bit more ripened kind of mango. than sort of anything else, that's fine with me, absolutely. And it's not too harsh, it's not too big, it's lovely and smooth, it's very easy. For a 10% beer, this is very well done, I think. But you would kind of, I suppose, expect that from Verdant now with the Puttty kind of series, that even with their triples, that they're getting them to a point where they're really well balanced and they don't they're not egregious in any kind of way. You know, there's nothing too overpowering within this, and it's nothing. I wouldn't say it's anything mind-blowing in terms of the flavour that I'm getting, but it is mind-blowing in that they can balance it all down into the flavour that you kind of get.
Yeah, that's always been the good thing about Puttty, where it's like, it's reserved enough, where it's, you can tell there's a lot of complexity going on, but it's not OTT, you know, with the fruit or with anything, like, it doesn't strive to be bombastic. It's just a very well made and well balanced beer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hatton, we'll come to you for the Orval, Lucy.
Yeah. Don't need to say much. It's Orval. It's tried and tested formula. It's very good. We should have Orval Day every day.
One
Who
a
would
day.
oppose? Who would oppose?
I mean, to be fair, maybe Orval would. Because I don't know whether they could match the demand to make 365 beers per person that wanted to experience Orval Day every day.
Okay, we should have one every week.
They might be able to do that. I think maybe they might be able to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, just great. If you've never had Orval, you can probably find it in most bottle shops. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably go to decent enough bottle shops and you can find it there and just go buy it. Yeah.
Nice.
That's it. My closing thoughts.
Good. So thank you everyone for joining us this week. They're the beers we drank. The game.
Yeah. And I'm sorry too. I've got time. We one of us has played RuneScape, and as you said, that was 20 years ago.
I didn't realise
any new updates.
So I mean, I didn't realise that RuneScape, because I think when they mentioned it, I had a quick Google. RuneScape is like 2 games now. It's the old version, RuneScape Classic, which is what I played fucking years ago, and then there's a new version of RuneScape. I've got no idea when it came out. I don't know what it's about. I imagine it's the same thing, but it's just newer, maybe. I don't know.
It's one of those where it's like there's just a massive community, and if you're not part of that community, you just have no awareness of it.
Absolutely.
It's always been massive. So.
And it's free to play as well. Both versions. So the website tells me are free to play.
I'm pretty sure that my friend, she used to have a boyfriend who was like addicted to RuneScape, and I had zero idea what that was, and that was that was probably about 15 years ago. So I've always been clueless about it.
Yeah. It's one of those like weird nothing names as well, isn't it? Like the same as like Hearthstone. Like, well, what the fuck is this game? Who knows? RuneScape. Who fucking knows? What are we talking about? Yeah, very much. But if you, dear listener, dear viewer, want to talk to us about RuneScape, about any other games, come to our Discord. We have links everywhere, almost everywhere. Come to outoflives.net and see the podcast post where we have links to the Discord. Go to our YouTube page as well, Out of Lives Network, to see all of our episodes of Tanked Up, which go up there. Get us at Tanked Upcast on the socials. Again, we can link you to our Discord there if you'd like to come and talk to us about more things. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And I might go and also join the craft beer channel Discord, as you've now mentioned it sort of several times over the last couple of days. It's sort of like,
I think you have to be a patron. But I think once after you're a patron, I think you have access after. Or at least I have.
Right. So you were a patron for like a month, and then you've continued your access further through kind of into the months.
Yeah. Well, that's what's worked for me. Like Frozen.
Like if they ever got anyone got a fiver to just be able to like give them for a month, and then be like, cool, bye, thanks. I'm now in Discord forever.
Yeah.
Make sure you got your 2-factor authentication linked on your Discord though as well, just to make sure that you don't get fucking hacked.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those recently.
Yeah, it's just a few.
It was popped up on the Shadowgate sequel Discord that I'm part of that I kickstarted, and it was like a few weeks ago, and it was like links there, and I was like, oh, there's an update. Is it a release date? And it was like, no, just spam.
Brilliant. Someone's just been hacked. Amazing. Brilliant. Yeah. Good. So yes, that is it from us. Go to outoflives.net to see all the things that we do and the beers and our faces and all of that lovely stuff. But this week we have been tagged up. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net